It is what it is, the tracking. I would really appreciate some advice. I've been married 14 years to my wife. She's 35 and I'm 46, but the age gap has never been a problem. We have 3 boys aged 11, 8 and 5. When we got married, bonding was enjoyable and affectionate. 3 months into the marriage, my wife lost her appetite on our honeymoon in amazing Tahiti from the pill. I have a very high drive and throughout the marriage always expected bonding. Mornings, evenings, even if my wife wasn't up for it. She never really enjoyed it and was in pain for many years. She found out it was food allergy related. I then got severely depressed, not from this, and expected bonding more, otherwise I would get very moody. Long and short of it, my wife resents me for this behavior. We've had 2 sets of different marriage therapy counseling the last 2 years. I have seen my wrongs and feel totally embarrassed for the lack of respect I have given her these years. I wish I could undo this but can't. Slight blip in this story that about 4 to 5 years ago she got a 1-year period of exceptionally high libido during my depression. Almost a role reversal. At this point she made hurtful comments that she saw me as a sibling and wanted to explore bonding with other men. She has since retracted these comments. She recently told me she is no longer attracted to me, and that hit me so hard I can't stop thinking about it. I really love her, she loves me, we get along well, parent the kids well, but she doesn't think she can get over the way I expected bonding and put pressure on her all the time. I feel we're heading for divorce and suggested separation for 3 to 6 months. We haven't had slept together for over 2 months, abstained from kissing and cuddling. What really hurts me is the way she looks at me with resentment, almost hatred. I feel lost and would appreciate advice. Do you think our marriage is repairable? Was she ever attracted to me? Is separation a better option than going straight for divorce? She told her parents, who suggested we compromise. I am 46 and need to see my wife look at me with love instead of resentment. What compromise? Am I being naive? I've asked for us both to have a reset and start from scratch. The other option is live together with resentment and being miserable, or the final option of divorce. My wife was the one to trigger both marriage counselors, not me, so I have confidence that she wants to salvage the marriage. As for your questions, I couldn't make her have a good time for 10 years. That's when we started to communicate and I got a better understanding of what she liked and didn't like. I think one night she had a good time 4 times. I think the issue, to be honest, was bonding was the elephant in the room. Something we didn't talk about. If you took bonding out the equation, my wife says we have the perfect marriage. She has only expressed interest in other men during her high libido period and never since. I'm sure she peaked, or another person made a really valid point that she felt in control as I was very depressed. I think no marriage is perfect. What I don't get is, can my wife forgive me and channel herself back into the marriage? Half a year later, long and short of it, she confessed in September that she was having an affair the last 3 years with her personal trainer. It was on and off and emotional and physical. Now I don't want to get into the detail, but she wasn't looking for an affair, but I was seriously depressed at the time and she was vulnerable, and I'm sure her AP played her. After she told me she did all the right things without me prompting, cut all ties, threw away any items that were connected, had tests, she went unprotected. Turns out she picked him an STI from him, the harmless one. We've been trying to reconnect, having therapy, and I've since found myself totally besotted by her. Like totally loved up. Feel emotionally closer. Bonding is awful, passion is not there, but we hug, hold hands and kiss on lips, mostly prompted by me. She has sent me lovely text messages to say how much she appreciates me and loves me. She says her head is messed up, has some feelings for her AP, understandably, but wants to spend her life with me. We've had highs and lows the last 3 months, but we are communicating so much better. We laugh so much like the old days, and I see that glow in her eyes that shows love. But I need advice. I don't understand what real the last 3 years was. We used to go out and have fun. Was that fake? I told her I loved her so many times and she said the same back. Was that staged? Our marriage lacked passion when I got depressed. I've lost my confidence. Her AP was a heavy-muscled 6 feet guy 9 years younger than me. I'm 11 years older than my wife, who is 36. Help here. I've been getting nightmares about her having another affair or not being able to speak. They are so real and scary. She said she's not an affectionate person, so doesn't like to give kisses or hugs, but I know when she was in love with me, she couldn't stop. My head is filled with clutter. My self-esteem is so low, but I wake up every day positive. I know she's having a hard time as well, and she also said she doesn't know what was real. Any books talk that can help. I get anxiety attacks. Is that normal? I feel she's compromised and staying with me. Every time I confront her on this, she says she wants to be with me. How do I really know? She betrayed me and lied to me for 3 years. I had no clue. She's on her phone so much. Was on her phone so much the last 3 years. I know the passcode. She gave it to me, but I've never gone into her phone and checked. That's not me. I don't want to be a paranoid person. There has been full disclosure. Every detail. She's not giving me bonding. I want to emotionally connect, and the physical side will follow. I know it's easy to throw rockets at her, but she dealt with my depression for 6 years, on her own. I gave her no attention then. I used her for bonding to relieve my depression, so her affair was triggered by me. We were and are so compatible. Do you not think trying to salvage a marriage should be the primary focus? It's only been 4 months since she told me. Key phrase, she told me, not me finding it. The double life was ruining her. If she told me there were no feelings, then she'd be lying. So, the fact that she told me that there are feelings shows she is being open. Feelings can't be switched on or off. Sure, some guy was sleeping with her and touching my wife in every way possible, and that kills me. But if there is 1% chance to repair what was a great marriage before, isn't it worth that shot? What don't I know is if I am plan B or the person she fell for. Her AP didn't dump her, she dumped him and showed me the messages. It's been 4 months no contact. I've had loads of therapy the last 4 months. We're also having couples therapy. I do feel sometimes like I'm going to have a full mental breakdown, but I also feel so alive again when I am reconnecting with my wife. I can see it's easy to throw her under a bus, but we have talked endlessly and openly. There were flaws in our marriage. I got depressed to the point of suicide. I nearly took my own life, but she saved me, pleaded me to get help, pleaded me for marriage therapy. I ignored. When I got out my depression, she started the affair. I hope this gives more context. My therapist said if our 3 kids thought life was about throwing in the towel at very low point, then every marriage would break down. He says give it a go, not for the kids but if it feels right to me, and it does. I'm just a mental wreck some days like today. Some days, I am positive and full of energy. Just need someone who has made it through the other side to give me some words of wisdom. So, it was on and off for 3 years. Lots of arguing. The guy was controlling, almost narcissistic. She tried many times to get out. She went for counseling on her own. Her friends threw her under a bus when she asked for help that she wanted out. They said keep having fun. She joined Facebook groups for help. There is a lot more context here. The consequences of her actions where she was totally cut off by her family for a good month. That killed her. I told her to have a STI test before she could touch me, like hug. I made her feel like dirt. She put the find a phone on her phone without me asking, so I can see where she is. Her actions are genuine. My comment, a 3-year affair is a long affair to have and hide. Other than you, who knows about the affair and how did they find out? Have you confronted those that knew, and what about her affair partner? You need to deal with the enablers and blow up their worlds. Make it clear that their involvement in this situation has consequences. Get them out of your lives and make sure they know why in a very public way if you can. Ask yourself and be honest, outside of the kids, why would you stay? OP responds, she's broken ties with them. One of the friends is divorced and was flirting with me last year. I couldn't understand why, but it appears she wanted to get me divorced and then provide a shoulder to cry on. Her parents know. Her 2 sisters, a few friends that she is starting to distance, and some gym friends who is distancing from. I just don't understand how I didn't see it for 3 years, and from all the comments here, I feel like I have goggles on and can't see reality. What's hard is we are in lockdown in the UK, at home with 3 very challenging boys, homeschooling and me working and trying to repair a marriage. Everything is against us. The easy thing for me to do is wave the white flag and file for divorce, but I genuinely feel there is hope, albeit one hell of a tough time. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I'll see how much effort she has made. The first lockdown made us spend 24/7 together, and she couldn't cope with a double life, and she cracked and confessed. I see the credit card statements for the counselor, so I know it's true. He lost his job in the gym last summer after the gym found out he had a fake certificate of qualification. That says it all in terms of what a con artist piece of scum he is. So last night I had an anxiety attack after reading all these messages and confronted my wife. She confessed that she's with me, 1, for the kids' sake, 2, she loves me and wants to grow old with me but not in love with me, 3, she still has feelings for her AP but hasn't been in touch for nearly 4 months, 4, she's trying hard to be affectionate but she can't force it. We talked about divorce properly for the first time. She started the counseling a few months before the affair to tell the counselor she thinks she is going to have an affair and not sure what to do. I was severely depressed at this stage, so ignoring her pleas to join her sessions. She's been having those sessions with the same counselor on and off for 3 years. I'm trying to piece a 5,000 jigsaw puzzle together and can't because it's actually many mixed sets. I'll never get the answers I want. My therapist says try to understand the present to prepare for the future. That's what I am trying to get out of this thread, not what a terrible person my wife was, betraying me for 3 years. I know that. She committed a crime. The worst crime to me. People can change. Can I get through this and salvage the marriage? That's what I need help and guidance for. I know a couple who turned things around after the guy cheated on his wife and she found out. They are in love 8 years on. No one would know. The affair was the catalyst to their happiness. There are some optimistic, positive stories. I want to hear those, not the doom and gloom ones. I've got my love goggles on and I don't think she can ever fall in love with me. I'm clutching for hope, but I think the reality is there is no hope. We have a couples therapy session next week. I'm going to throw the I want a divorce card in that session. I think you are all right. I need to man up. I've been a B. My personal therapist has been good though. When I told him my wife was having an affair, he shed a tear. He's in his 70s, so old school. He is the one encouraging me to salvage the marriage. Just to be clear, we currently get on. We always have apart from summer 2020 when the double life pressure pushed her to be nasty. We joke, laugh, smile. We were so compatible. We were soulmates for sure. We cuddle at night in bed, every night. We watch TV holding hands. If not, we sit really close. I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, more like always, and sometimes she is clasping my hands. She could be playing me totally or she could be genuinely trying to give it a go, as she says. And she needs help to get through it. The last week I've been an emotional wreck, paranoid, panic and anxiety attacks. Prior to this week, I have manned up, exercising 4 days a week, looking after myself. But I have no desire to remain married just for the kids. That doesn't work for me. I need a wife. So last night my wife and I spoke. I found a text on her old phone to a friend saying she would rather leave than sleep with me, Aug 2020. Her confession was end Sep 2020. I told her how I felt about that and I don't believe she can ever fall in love with me again. I said we should try for 3 to 6 months with counseling and if the dial doesn't move, we start divorce. She agreed. We hugged in bed at night, her instigating it and clinging on to me. And she kept saying let's be positive and try our best. She's scared, in a mental mess, but it's clear there is no hope for us. You were all right. Comment. For a very common set of reasons. Your wife had an affair with an attractive bad boy and fell out of love with you. He was physically attractive. He was training her, position of authority and superiority. She was lustful. Her poor set of morals and boundaries allowed her to justify it. To further justify it, she went to counseling to tell them that she was going to cheat. And she continued doing it for 3 years. Not on and off like you say, the relationship was full on. The bonding may have been on and off. And to add more color to this, the chances are very high that he was screwing other women too, at the same time. That may be why the bonding may have been on and off. No matter how fit he was, he may not have been able to cope with juggling many women at times. Sure, he was in love with all of them and your wife probably believes this. She definitely was in love with him. Who wouldn't be in love with a hunk who is a trainer and is attracted and attractive to her? She doesn't sound like she is of the right metal to come out of this. She is still attracted to him, and deep down still feels that she can get him back again. But in the meantime, we'll try everything to try and keep you hooked until she is ready to move again. She has had a taste of this so that even if he doesn't come back, she now can move on to her next fling easily. So, forget about the wife you had. She is gone. Actually never was, but that is a different story. Look at the wife you have now. Someone who would rather leave than sleep with you, is not in love with you, had a long-term affair while married to you, still has feelings for the OM even though she knows he is a liar and a cheater, and is trying to give you hope because she needs your support. Would you marry a person like this if you knew all this up front? I get the fact that my wife and marriage are dead, but she's not. She is the mother of my 3 children, so come divorce, she will be in my life. I want to be in a place that I know we tried to salvage it, so we end things on good terms. I know so many divorced couples who fight, are abusive and who suffers. The children, that's not the role model parent I want to be. And I want them to know that their mom and dad tried everything in their powers to save the marriage. I guess deep down, I know we're over. And you are right, it's the same emotions as a death. But I have an added complication that I don't know what reality was or fake the last 3 years. All those pictures. So, my world isn't what I thought it was. I'm trying to digest this in a world that is under a suffocating lockdown. It's a tough one for me. The MC was helpful to give us structure. She can give us guidance on a divorce plan. My head is all over the place. My wife's is even worse, homeschooling 3 very challenging boys and dealing with this. Getting a divorce is one traumatizing event. If there is a MC who can help us both, why wouldn't we continue? Some info. We carried on sleeping together. It was awful bonding, but there is context here in that when I was in depression, I didn't care about bonding, passion, so I made it robotic. She was in her prime and I was heading fast towards X myself. When I came out of depression a year later, she began her affair. We continued to have robotic bonding. She didn't want to kiss me at all. I should have noticed, but just was a complete naive idiot. We've had slept together a few times since she confessed. It was pretty bad. She said I didn't turn her on, pictured a beach as we had slept together, and I said I could only see a built PT sleeping with her. Kissing is bad too, like kissing a wall. I see the light now. I see there is no hope. I guess I'm just terrified of the future and the impact for my kids. What I'm going through mentally and emotionally is traumatizing. Getting 2 to 3 hours sleep a night the last 3 months. I am a wreck. I do need to pull it together, but I am 24/7 in a house with my cheating wife and 3 kids locked down from a lethal lockdown. So sure, I am weak now for all the reasons you state. I am grieving. I am in shock. I am scared. But I will get through it for exactly the reasons you state. My kids, they need to see the strong man and role model. Just can't get there overnight. Does anyone have any recommendations on getting sleep? Mental cleansing. I've tried breathing exercises, medicated sleeping pills, and all kinds of herbal stuff. Nothing. I need to get sleep to get my mind back and then start divorce rationally. Not the wreck mode that I am now. I know that for sure because we've been home 24/7 the last 2 months because of lockdown, and when she's out, one of the kids goes with her. She is also out to find my phone on, so I can see where she is. She did this without me asking. Of course, she could be messaging her AP, but she has on many occasions given me her phone if I wanted to check messages. I spoke to the doctor today and she's going to prescribe me antidepressants. They take a while to kick in, but I think I need to stabilize my mental state. I also spoke to my wife openly today. Divorce in the UK takes 6 months, but with pandemic 9 months apparently. Any advice on when to break the news to the kids? Obviously once we have a plan, but closer to the divorce or earlier, when we put house for sale and start looking for 2 homes. I'd like to stay amicable for the sake of the kids. She's not contacting him because she has worked out that there is no future together. It wouldn't work. That's not the person she wants to spend the rest of her life with. Now he may have banged her brains to incredibly good time, but she's realized it was an artificial life. 1 bang a week and he wouldn't cuddle her after, went off to check his 6-pack. Makes me feel sick, but in a much better place mentally today. She didn't have any affair before. I know that. It took 9 months of her PT pestering her, gaining her trust, her friends throwing her under a bus, and a therapist unable to help before she cracked. She's not a one-night stand person. She needs an emotional connection. When we dated, we didn't have sleep together for 2 years until we both emotionally connected. That's her. She's not into bonding. She's into the emotional element. When she came clean and confessed, she came clean on everything about her AP and swore there was nothing or no one else. She timelines her story and everything made sense. I am living with her and my 3 kids in the same house in a UK lockdown. 24/7. We could be civil as we are doing or throw abuse at each other, to the detriment of the kids. I agree I am better than this and can find love again. I'm not ready. I need me time to absorb. I need to get my mental and physical state back. Then I can move on. I think the feeling of betrayal and the shock and fear of the future is by far the worst life experience. He kept putting pressure on her to be friends with benefits. She reached out to friends for help who told her to try it. She reached out to a counselor. She was having robotic bonding with a depressed husband and finally cracked one day. No justification, but my point is that it wasn't instinctive. Someone told me having an affair like my wife did was like having an addiction. You get a high from it. When you aren't with your AP, you feel at a loss like an addict. My wife over 3 years tried to break up 9+ times. She has timelined this for me and it adds up. But she kept going back because the alternative was a depressed husband. I think she's still in recovery mode. She still misses the drug but has realized it's bad for her. We're getting divorced in any case. We spoke and she wants it too. So, I guess that's that. Upwards and onwards. Final update. I now need time to rebuild, get my mental and emotional state in a good place, and give my 3 boys all the love I can. No one knows what the future holds, but I am a strong believer if you really want something so bad, there is always a chance. I also know success is based on failure, and sometimes you don't really know how precious something or someone is, until one day you lose it. But it's too late by then. Life doesn't give us an undo button. My comment, get her out of your life as quickly as possible and do not let her return. The sole exception, visiting with the kids. You have not lost a woman of any character or quality. You will see this more and more as time passes. She was broken. The predator preyed on her. The stars were aligned in terms of scummy friends and crap counselor. She was weak and this is the result. Just curious, why does she want a divorce now? Is it because she is not in love with you anymore, or because she feels there is no coming back from this, or both? Story 2. So, my wife and I have been married about 7 years. We have been a couple for 15. About 3 years ago she went through menopause and bonding for us has completely evaporated. We have talked about it and the issues that we are having multiple times. She is 57 and I am 50. She has agreed to go get checked out medically and we have both agreed to go to therapy. The problem is every appointment I have made for us, she has found a way not to go. She still has not made a medical appointment, though I have been asking her consistently to do so. Then last week I found this exchange on her iPad. The dates of this conversation were 3 years ago. I confronted her and of course she denies that anything has been going on or did go on between the two of them, although I have found other circumstantial evidence to the contrary. What I don't have is a smoking gun or solid evidence of infidelity. I don't want to be an idiot and fail to see what is directly in front of me, but if there is someone else or was a someone else, why would she stay? Since our physical life has gone so far south, she knows I am not happy and I am confused. I don't think she has been very happy and complains about how little we do together and that I am always working but doesn't really want to do anything with me anyway. So, I ask, why does she stay? No kids, no house. The looking back into the iPad was a spare-of-the-moment thing. I did it without really any thought. Regardless though, I did look, and it took me some time to find that conversation, so I was determined. What I can tell you is that over the 3 years in our conversations about bonding, I would say it feels like you're being faithful, but not to me. The other factors that I can give you is that due to my position at work changing right around the same time, I started getting nighttime calls and I would have to leave the house and report to work and would often be gone all night long. This really bothered her. Meanwhile, her trips back home to California were occurring 2 to 3 times a year for weeks at a time. This was a result of her father falling ill and passing away. The handling of the estate followed by the remodeling and selling of his home were the reasons for the trips. When she would return, she would use events that occurred while she was gone as evidence of infidelity and started accusing me of being unfaithful. Yet the explanations were perfectly reasonable unless you didn't want to believe them. For example, on one occurrence she was to arrive home on a Friday. I had been busy all week, and I didn't want her coming home to a filthy house, so I hired a cleaning lady referred to me by a friend with 2 days' notice. What I did not know was that she was making calls to one of our neighbors and using that neighbor to report to her what cars were parked in front of the house. When the cleaning lady's car was parked out front, she sent the neighbor over to check to see what he could find. Well, he decided to let himself in the back door and scared the poor woman to death. She called me from her cell while hiding in the closet. I was at work and totally blown away by this whole thing. I naturally ran home to calm her down and handle the situation. So, I started getting suspicious due to all the accusations. This other man is her friend from her high school days. They may have dated back then, but if they did, I don't think it was serious. Other than that, she has never given me a reason to doubt her fidelity. There was one event that occurred 3 years ago that I asked her about. I had noticed she sent this man her flight itinerary for her arrival back to California. When I asked her about it, she very casually said he was the backup plan for the airport pickup in the event her brother was not going to be able to get off work to pick her up. At the time, I think I complimented her, telling her it was good thinking. Honestly, if my marriage had not become non-physical and the whole infidelity accusations wouldn't have been thrown back and forth, I think the marriage would be great. I won't lie, we have had a rough road from day one. We have dealt with addiction, we have dealt with family court and the loss of custody to another parent of the child. So, I'm not going to say that we wouldn't be right back here in some other way. Maybe the issue would be uncontrolled spending, or a relapse into drugs, I don't know. What I can say is that if I felt the emotional connection that told me what I meant to her and her to me, and if we would have maintained the intimacy that accompanies that, I would feel like we were solid as granite. Right now, I look at her current list of messages and I see 2 messages from this guy, one on the 5th and one on the 6th. The one on the 6th is a secret-style message on Facebook Messenger. Neither of these 2 messages have any response from her, but they are both sitting there and I know she knows it. She is just waiting for me to say something about so she can say I am hacking her account again. She argues the fruit of the poisonous tree issue and thereby sidesteps the real issue. I guess it's too bad for her that we are not in court. It's also too bad that her logic that way will prevent her from understanding what has happened and events that lead to our final destruction. I ask myself all the time, even if we do get past this, will we ever get back physically or otherwise? And honestly, I don't really think we will. Will we get back to a point that we can truly love each other again without fear and doubt and resentment? It's possible, but it won't be like it was, not to mention the time and effort and energy to get to the first stage. I have never loved anything like I loved her, and I want that feeling back. I want to love like that again. I have never experienced that anywhere else. Not my first wife, not my second wife, or any girlfriend. Even now, amongst all this, I still have an incredible draw to her. I don't want to be wrong about this one. I don't want to walk away because of a feeling or a suspicion. I don't want to be a fool though either. I am off to see an attorney tomorrow. It still feels like I have been hit by a truck though. My comment: if you are having to haul your spouse to a polygraph to get to the truth of their fidelity, you have already lost the battle. It's almost certain that things will never be the same again if you stay. The having no bonding would be my deal breaker. The texting stuff is ugly and hurtful and whatnot, but honestly is standard procedure for cheating.